Hi, welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. I'm Ray Hagar with the Reno Gazette. Sam's got the day off, and Randi Thompson has the rundown.
That's right, Sam is playing, so Ray and I are working. And today we have the Assemblywoman Sharron, who's announcing her bid for Congress. And we have Carlos Garcia, the soon-to-be out-the-door Director of Education down in Clark County.
And coming up on today's Pundit panel, we have Ray Bacon, Dick Gammick, and Bob Crowell. That's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
Here at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, water resources come from fresh, clean groundwater, approved by state permits. The water is pumped from wells to million-gallon storage tanks and then distributed to TRI companies. Another amenity is our investment in a state-of-the-art wastewater treatment plant. This disposal system converts waste to clean water for industrial applications. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevada.
Something spectacular has taken wing not far from Reno or Lake Tahoe, and never far from your mind. An escape of fine dining and legendary golf. Introducing the resort at Red Hawk. And at the center of it all, we've feathered our nest with new villas that have elevated Red Hawk to the status of a premier resort. The resort at Red Hawk, a beautiful new arrival in northern Nevada. Nevada Newsmakers is sponsored in part by the Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by Employer Links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer Links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and Social Security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
I tell you, John, this industry has really changed.
Tell me about it.
You seem to do pretty well last year. What's your secret?
No secrets. Although I'll tell you something. The smartest thing I did was sign up with Pro Group Management.
Really? Yeah, they do workers' comp, right?
Yeah, their services are great. And get this, they saved me 30%. I've heard they saved others 50%.
That works for me.
Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers.
Thank you for joining us with Nevada Newsmakers. Today we have Carlos Garcia, the Superintendent of Schools with Clark County School District, Nevada's largest school district. And Carlos, it's the 5th largest in the United States, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and growing by the day.
Well, Carlos, you and the other superintendents came to the legislature with a 13-point plan called Invest. I was wondering how you think that you really did in getting funding for your Invest programs. Number one, you wanted $72 million for full-day kindergarten. You got 22. You wanted $60 million for English language learning programs. That got rolled into Governor Gwynn's remedial education fund, and your career and technical education, you wanted $12 million. You got $2 million. So how'd this go with you, Carlos?
Well, I think that, every year it seems we say, well, that's a good start. Every legislative session, it was a good start, but obviously, we didn't get quite what we wanted, and we never do, so we're pretty much used to that. But at least one good thing, at least the state of Nevada keeps focused on the Invest plan, and even the things the governor did pass, all of those things were included in our Invest plan, so at least they are using it as a model for the future to curtail all our fundings to try to support something like that. But it's going to take time.
Now, the governor was on our show last week, 2 weeks ago, talking about obviously education, and his comment was that he doesn't trust the state school board to really enact and oversee our school education, our state's education process. And you said, I think recently in the Sun, that we have no long-range plan to improve education. How do you see the relationship with education and the legislature? It seems really the legislature is dictating our educational system now. If you could have the crystal ball, and now that you're leaving, you could probably say things you normally couldn't say. Where would you like to see education going in the state? How do you think we could truly improve education?
Well, I think that, we have a tendency, I think the legislature micromanages public education a little bit too much. I mean, where else would you ever be in a state where they're trying to even dictate what starting time school should start at? I mean, that's absurd. Every session, they seem to pass more laws that just put more restrictions on our ability to get the job done, and without the funding as well. I think that in the long run, I think what needs to happen here is that even though, and we're grateful for the money that we get, but what the public doesn't understand is that our growth is so rapid that these huge numbers that you hear out there are just barely keeping us afloat. And I think the real issue is right now we rank about 48th in what we spend per student in the United States. If we've done so well, then why is it that in the last 5 years we've actually gone from about 38th to 48th? And we're headed, and I predict that in the next session, if not next session, by the following session for certain, that we'll be the rock bottom state in terms of how much we spend per student. People don't want to hear that. Politicians don't want to hear that. The legislature, nobody wants to hear that, because the only way to resolve that issue is to probably invest over $1 billion more just to bring us up to the average in this state. And nobody wants to do that because it's costly. On the other hand, look at what we pay by not doing it. The price we pay is that if we look at our class sizes, we have some of the highest class sizes in the nation. Here in Clark County, we have high school classes that are between 35 to 42 kids. That's unacceptable. And when you look at even our 5th grade, 4th grade classrooms, they're up in the 30. We have kindergarten classrooms with over 35 kids in them. I mean, that's the price we pay. And then when you look at wages, people could argue that all they want from a political point of view, but it's supply and demand economics. And sooner or later, when we have a shortage here, and we are going to have a shortage, because $28,000 a year starting salary here in Clark County isn't enough to attract 2,500 teachers that we hire each year. And this year, especially with the housing costs going up so tremendously, teachers, this is the first time we've actually had hundreds of teachers turn us down because they can't afford to live here.
Well, I know growth is obviously the critical issue in Clark County, but I'm going to kind of play a little bit of devil's advocate here with you. That per pupil spending, we do not include construction, and several states do, and as we discussed earlier.
True. Everybody says that, but the studies, the two major studies that are done to compare per pupil expenditure, not a one of them include school construction. That wouldn't be fair. Imagine if you're some little town and just, you finally pass a bond to build one school, and that's, 3 times your regular budget. You're not going to include that as your average per pupil. So why should we use it against Clark County? I mean, that money is set aside specifically to build schools. It's not set aside to pay salaries or build infrastructure. It's just set aside to build schools. So really, realistically, however you want to cut it, and no matter what study you look at, we're way at the bottom in just about everything.
Right. I guess just overall, you really can't sit there and say West Virginia, that's losing population, and based, and their per pupil spending based on Nevada, who's gaining population every day.
Right.
It's really difficult to say what is a national average when we'd really, frankly, like you're right, we need to focus on what we need to do here that is going to fund per pupil, that's going to get the results that we want.
Yeah, and I never go out there and say we ought to go to the national average. I've never been an advocate of that. Why? Because there's, we're one state, and I'm proud that, we've really worked with all the counties, all of us work together, because a kid in Humboldt County is just as important as a kid here. I mean, we're here to work for all kids, and it would be a disservice to just simply say we're going to go to the national average, because in some small places like Esmeralda and places like that, they need to get a lot more money because they have fewer students, and in order to run their systems, they have to have those resources. I think the real debate in this state needs to be what is the amount that we need to adequately educate a student, and that really should be the discussion. And sometimes people, in fact, even the paper here this morning was blasting me saying, well, there's never enough, that, they just want more and more. And I'm saying, look, if you look at the Invest plan, every single thing we asked for had an accountability instrument built into it. We're not just saying give us the money. We're showing how we're going to measure it, whether or not it's going to work. And if it doesn't work, we're going to be the first to say, look, let's not waste our resources in that. So we do want to be held accountable.
Carlos, let's hold it right there. Let us break for a commercial message. We'll be right back.
Any Nevada Newsmakers program, call 775-857-2244. The tapes are $20 each, including shipping.
My family started this business 27 years ago. We work hard to serve our customers and our community.
But it's getting harder and harder to keep the doors open.
For example, our workers' comp is going through the roof. Isn't anyone on my side anymore?
The Retail Association of Nevada is. If you're a small business owner, we can cut your workers' comp by up to 50%, lobby for your interests, and keep you informed. Put us to work today.
Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org. The National Mining Association.
Reno's best dining values are all at one casino, the Pepper Mill. You can enjoy great savings on our popular specials. Pepper Mill's coffee shop offers daily lunch specials, low-carb dining, and all your favorite comfort foods. You'll find sensational lunch specials featuring Reno's freshest seafood, sushi, pasta, and more at Oceano. And early bird specials at Reno's Premier Steakhouse and Romanza Ristorante Italiano. The best values are at the Pepper Mill. Where are you dining?
The best value in sight is here for you to see. From frames to lenses to eye exams, you're covered A to Z. Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
Davis Optical Centers, with 2 locations in Reno and Sparks.
Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers.
We're back here with Carlos Garcia, the Superintendent of Schools of the Clark County School District, Sharron Engel, the Assemblywoman from Reno, who is running for the District 2 congressional seat, was supposed to be here today, but was detained and could not make it. Carlos, let me get back to this English language learning request of the superintendent. You had $60 million in there, and this seemed to never really gain any steam at the legislature. You know, English language learners, there's such a growing population in Clark County, in Washoe County, in Lyon County, in Humboldt County. Does the legislatures really understand how important this is?
No, I don't think they do, and it's a political hotbed, to be honest with you. I think that, you know, we get a lot of calls, those people, this and that. You know, it's horrible, some of the things people say, because, you know, our feeling is and it's the law. Any kid who shows up to our school, you know, if you have a problem with that, take it up with the Supreme Court. But under the law, everybody's allowed to go to school, right?
Yeah.
And so some people just, you know, have some real hostile feelings towards, you know, providing additional resources to kids who don't speak English. But the sad part about that is that they're not going away. They're the fastest segment of the population, growth segment of the population, not only here in Clark County, but in Washoe and all over. And so, you know, we do need, if we want them to learn English as quickly as possible to become productive citizens, we need, you know, additional resources. 38 states in the country provide additional resources for that segment of the population. And you know, they're almost, sometimes in the legislature, they're viewed as invisible people. They're like they don't exist. But that's too bad, because that is going to be a much bigger issue every single year. Right now in Clark County, 1 out of 5 students is a non-English speaking student, and that's headed for, you know, 2 out of 5 in the next 2 to 3 years. We have over 58 non-English speaking students right now.
Wow. Last week on the show, Howard Rosenberg, on the Higher Education Board of Regents, and then John Gwaltney, the head of the State Board of Education, talked about funding of education, and it's perceived as K through 12 as competing with higher ed. And they actually discussed the start of this discussion about why don't we look at education as a whole, K through 16, and approach education funding big picture from kindergarten all the way through college. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that I think it's a good thought of doing something like that. I think that we do, believe it or not, and I know even the Chancellor, Rogers, has made comments that there's not enough articulation, and I beg to differ with them because we meet all the time with the presidents of the colleges, and it's ongoing, and we're talking about curriculum, about what we can do to make sure kids are taking the right courses. We've changed, modified our courses, everything. But I do think that it's important that I don't think it will ever happen here, and the reason why I don't think it will happen is...
Carlos, I have to cut you off. I'm so sorry on that timing there.
I'm sorry about it.
That's quite all right. We'll have you back on, though, before you leave.
Anytime.
Thanks for watching Nevada
Good luck,
Newsmakers.
Carlos.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
For more than a decade, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has been helping the community embrace conservation as a way of life. That includes replacing more than 50 million square feet of grass with water-smart landscaping. During the worst drought on record, watering restrictions and tough landscaping codes have reduced the community's water use by billions of gallons, even as thousands of new residents were moving into Nevada. That's smart water management, and that's our promise to Nevada.
Something spectacular has taken wing not far from Reno or Lake Tahoe, and never far from your mind. An escape of fine dining and legendary golf. Introducing the resort at Red Hawk. And at the center of it all, we've feathered our nest with new villas that have elevated Red Hawk to the status of a premier resort. The Resort at Red Hawk, a beautiful new arrival in northern Nevada.
So, who do you use for workers' comp?
Pro Group Management.
Ah, I've heard some good things about them.
You bet. Employee background checks, safety training, claim seminars. Oh, and here's the great part. If you have an issue, they work for you, not against you.
Sounds perfect. And expensive.
Well, that's the best part. They saved me 30%. I've heard they saved others 50%.
Works for me. Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by Employer Links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer Links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and Social Security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers.
Okay, we're back today with today's pundit panel. We have Ray Bacon of the Nevada Manufacturers Association, Bob Crowell of the Crowell Group, and a member of the Carson City School Board of Trustees, and Dick Gammick.
Cowboy.
Well, not a
Cowboy Dick Gammick.
District Attorney of Washoe County, and what you going to a hootenanny this what's going on, Dick?
Actually, we're starting the big hootenanny for the next 2 weeks. Reno Rodeo's in town, and first show will be Thursday night with, I don't know if you can get a shot of this, but Extreme Bulls. Get the right camera here. Extreme Bulls will be coming up on Thursday night, and then Friday and Saturday night are the Pace Pecani Winter Finals, and Saturday night show will be telecast by CBS. So we're going to get some pretty heavy national coverage this year, and ESPN will also be there for the Extreme Bulls and for the finals, which will be the next Saturday night. And there's no daytime shows anymore. They're all nighttime to include the finals.
What are Extreme Bulls? I mean, I think of like Bob Beers, but... Sorry.
Hi, Bob.
I love Bob Beers.
Extreme Bulls is something that was started a couple of years ago by the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, PRCA, and it is a night of nothing but bull riding. It's the top 45 cowboys in the country and bull riding and the top 40 bulls. So it's just a kind of a major crash out there on Thursday night.
So they do that the first night to get everybody softened up for the rest of the conference?
Yeah, it'll be this Thursday night, and it's quite a night. They eat a lot of fireworks, both with the bulls, and they shoot a lot of fireworks, too. It's quite a show.
Well, let's talk about the rodeo that just ended down in Carson City.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's extreme bull riding for 120 days, man.
Fireworks coming out of that now.
Ray, let me ask you, how do you think public education fared? Do you think they could have done better?
No, I think they got a lot of money. I'm not sure the money is going to be prudently spent. As Bob and I were talking ahead of time, the $22 million for full-day kindergarten is focused on at-risk schools. So if you wind up with, Dick Gammick and I both disapprove of the term at-risk because it tends to turn the kids off. It really is talking those kids that are eligible for free and reduced lunch, which really means poor kids. Okay, so let's call it what it is. So the poor kids have to be in a school that is 55% or greater poor student or poor population. That effectively means that there's about 10 schools in the state outside of Clark County and Washoe County that are going to be eligible. Everybody else has a lower population. But if you have a poor kid in a school that's 50% poor kids, he needs just as much help as the student that's in a school that's 56% poor population. So we focused on the system again and not focusing on the kids. I think that's fundamentally wrong.
Well, I don't know about we're going to spend the money badly. I tend to agree with Ray in some sense that the process could be focused a little bit narrower on those who need it. But I think that it's a good first step. And as much as people want to say that you can't throw money at education, on the other hand, money makes this world go around, and you cannot run education on a shoestring. If you want to get results, you got to pay people a professional salary, and you got to have professional administrators do it. And I think education fared relatively well this time, this session, and We'll live with whatever they gave, but I got to tell you another thing, and I know this isn't the topic of your show, but at the end of the day, I think that the school district, particularly like the school districts in Carson City, are going to be more affected by the property tax cap than ever before. And we can talk about having a 2% raise this year for teachers and a 4% raise next year, and that's probably going to happen in Carson City. But I got to tell you, our preliminary numbers in Carson City show that in order for us to do that, we're going to have to start cutting positions. And it's kind of an odd situation where you have people say, hey, we got a whole lot of money coming down to education. And then you got Carson City and other school districts saying, in order to meet these criteria, we're going to be starting cutting positions. And you know what? I think we're going to be there. And the second part of that is I think that, there was this audit provision that came out of AB 580 this last session. I'm going to urge the Carson City School District to volunteer for that audit, to volunteer to have a self-audit done, because I want somebody to know on the outside that says, look, this is what these school districts go through. This is what's going to be required in order for these guys to make to live within their budget, and this is what the cause is. And I want somebody to look there, and I'm going to push for that.
So you're saying, Dick, go ahead.
Oh, okay, I was going to say, I think the biggest issue we have in this state with education is accountability. There's a lot of money that goes into education. And I started out months ago saying that we're rated so low in the United States because we are not counting capital projects as part of our education expenditures. Last month, the federal people came out and said that Nevada was not counting capital expenditures, and therefore we were rated way low in our expenditures on education. The question is, and I keep asking it, where does the money go?
Well, I can tell you
we're putting a lot of money into education.
I can tell you where the money goes.
Where's it going? And the sad thing of it is there was another article, I think, in yesterday's paper over the weekend on a Sun Valley school that kids are eating stale bread. They don't have pencils. They don't have paper. Why?
Yeah. Where's the money?
mean, that's the question. Where is the money going?
Well, when you talk about I could tell you one thing. Carson City school district, the percent of compensation or the percent of the budget is 87% is personnel costs. That's no doubt about that. Yeah. But when you talk about adding in construction or capital improvement projects into determining whether or not you've done right by your students in terms of per pupil spending, I don't think you can do that. I mean, Carson City, we in the school district, you don't have willy-nilly ability to spend what you want. I mean, you don't have any ability to raise funds. You spend what you're given, and if you want to build a capital project, that Dick is asking to say you should count in, you got to go to the voters to do that. You got to go to the voters to do it. And I tell you, and look at Carson City. We have one school district, one high school in Carson City for 2,700 students. And you walk in there and you tell me that we ought to count that as a capital improvement project that goes to per pupil spending. I just don't buy it.
But it's not necessarily what, well, I don't know, Dick, are you asking that we look at it? It's not fair to compare Nevada's per pupil cost, where we are building a school building, what, a month in Clark County, versus West Virginia that's losing population. All he's saying is that you can't look at us on a nationwide scale and say we're doing poorly when we have got to invest every day in construction.
Well,
and that's taken away money that would be going to supplies, to pencils and stuff like that.
I don't think money that goes to construction would be taken out, because that's bond money. I mean, that
comes
can't
from two
go.
different sources.
But it comes down to the bottom line. It's an investment in education.
Still apples to apples, and
Yeah.
part of the issue is in the federal statistics, we have been the orange sticking out with a bunch of apples, and so consequently we stick out. And Dick's right on that issue.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Just on a national average, we aren't the same as every other state. I mean, we've got to look at what we're doing internally, like you're doing in Carson, or how we're looking in Clark County. Let's look at it just statewide, and let's set our own standards, which is what No Child Left Behind does.
Okay,
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Thank you.
We got to wrap it up right there. We talked about K-12 education today. Tomorrow we'll have Jim Rogers, the Chancellor of the University System. Thank you.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
High-tech companies demand perfect world amenities. They require clean, reliable power, state-of-the-art fiber optic communications, and clean water sources. In a perfect world, companies would have immediate access to rail and interstate freeways. There would be 4-lane expressways that shorten shipping times and provide convenient commute routes for valued employees. Well, the future is now, and it's here. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
South Reno's hot spot for food, fun, and friends is the Tamarack Junction. Play over 480 of the hottest slots and video poker games. Enjoy hot times and sizzling food specials at Sully's Sports Bar, Grill, and Nightclub. Watch your favorite game on one of our jumbo high-definition plasma TVs. Enjoy great food 24 hours a day in the dining car restaurant. Or sample the best hot and cold sandwiches in the Whistle Stop Deli. The Tamarack Junction is your junction for fun. South Virginia and Amati Ranch Parkway. Yeah.
My family started this business 27 years ago. We work hard to serve our customers and our community.
But it's getting harder and harder to keep the doors open.
For example, our workers' comp is going through the roof. Isn't anyone on my side anymore?
The Retail Association of Nevada is. If you're a small business owner, we can cut your workers' comp by up to 50%, lobby for your interests, and keep you informed. Put us to work today.
Many of the materials we rely on every day come from the ground, and modern mining technology brings them to us cleaner and safer than ever before. To learn more about America's natural resources, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
Hey, thanks for watching today. Who do we got on tomorrow, Randi?
Oh, we have the owner of this station, the Chancellor of the Educational System, Mr. Jim Rogers.
And maybe our next governor.
Maybe our next governor, that's right. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.